It is crucial to clearly indicate that the 480-volt alternating current disconnect is not a functional part of the equipment when a temporary modification to a 120-volt alternating current supply has been made. Several methods can be employed to achieve this. Firstly, attaching a warning label to the equipment is essential. This label should be prominently displayed and state in clear, unambiguous language that the 480-volt alternating current disconnect is not to be used. The label should also specify the correct supply voltage, which is 120 volts alternating current in this case, along with any other pertinent safety information. Secondly, physically locking out the 480-volt alternating current disconnect is a highly effective preventative measure. This involves using a lockout device to secure the disconnect in the off position, preventing it from being accidentally or inadvertently operated. The lockout device should be applied by authorized personnel following established lockout-tagout procedures. Thirdly, covering the disconnect can further enhance safety. Placing a cover, preferably a brightly colored one, over the 480-volt alternating current disconnect visually reinforces the message that it is not to be used. The cover serves as a physical barrier and a visual reminder, reducing the likelihood of accidental operation. Fourthly, using a different color of wire for the 120-volt alternating current supply connection can help to visually differentiate it from the original 480-volt alternating current wiring. This color coding provides an immediate visual cue, making it easier for maintenance staff to identify the correct supply voltage and avoid confusion. It is paramount to ensure that all maintenance staff are fully aware of the modifications that have been made to the equipment. This awareness should be achieved through thorough training, clear communication, and readily available documentation. Staff should understand the importance of not using the 480-volt alternating current disconnect and the potential hazards associated with doing so. The modification, although temporary, needs clear documentation and communication to be safely maintained. Improper use of electrical equipment poses significant safety hazards, including the risk of electrical shock, fire, and equipment damage. Therefore, it is imperative to take all necessary precautions to prevent accidents and ensure the safety of personnel. A comprehensive approach involving labeling, lockout procedures, physical barriers, and clear communication is essential for effectively managing the risks associated with this temporary modification. The warning label should be durable and weather-resistant, ensuring that it remains legible and securely attached to the equipment. The label should be placed in a location where it is easily visible to anyone who may be working on or near the equipment. The lockout device should be appropriate for the type of disconnect being used and should be applied in accordance with established lockout-tagout procedures. Only authorized personnel who have been properly trained in lockout-tagout procedures should be permitted to apply or remove lockout devices. The cover should be securely attached to the disconnect and should be made of a material that is durable and resistant to damage. The cover should be brightly colored to enhance its visibility. The color of wire used for the 120-volt alternating current supply connection should be different from the color of wire used for the original 480-volt alternating current supply connection. This color coding should be consistent throughout the installation. In addition to the above measures, it is also important to ensure that the equipment is properly grounded. Grounding provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, helping to protect against electrical shock. The grounding system should be inspected regularly to ensure that it is in good working order. The temporary modification should be regularly inspected to ensure that it is safe and functioning properly. Any problems or concerns should be addressed immediately. The temporary modification should be removed as soon as possible and the equipment should be restored to its original configuration. The original configuration should be thoroughly tested to ensure that it is functioning properly before the equipment is put back into service. All documentation related to the temporary modification should be retained for future reference. This documentation should include a description of the modification, the date it was made, the reason for the modification, and the names of the personnel who performed the modification. By following these steps, you can help to ensure that the equipment is operated safely and that the risk of accidents is minimized. It is important to remember that electrical safety is everyone's responsibility. If you have any questions or concerns about electrical safety, please consult with a qualified electrician. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides comprehensive guidelines for electrical safety. The NEC is updated every 3 years and is available from the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, also has regulations related to electrical safety. These regulations are designed to protect workers from electrical hazards. It is important to be familiar with the NEC and OSHA regulations that apply to your work. Electrical work should only be performed by qualified personnel who have been properly trained. Never attempt to perform electrical work unless you are qualified to do so. Always use the proper tools and equipment when performing electrical work. Inspect all tools and equipment before use to ensure that they are in good working order. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment, or PPE, when performing electrical work. This may include safety glasses, gloves, and insulated footwear. Be aware of your surroundings when performing electrical work. Avoid working in wet or damp conditions. Disconnect power before working on electrical equipment. Use a lockout-tagout procedure to ensure that power is not accidentally restored while you are working on the equipment. Test the equipment to verify that power has been disconnected before you begin working on it. Be careful when working near energized electrical equipment. Maintain a safe distance from energized equipment. Never touch energized electrical equipment. If you are unsure about something, ask for help. It is always better to be safe than sorry. The temporary modification of electrical equipment should be approached with utmost caution and diligence. A thorough risk assessment should be conducted before any modifications are made to identify potential hazards and implement appropriate control measures. The risk assessment should consider factors such as the type of equipment being modified, the environment in which the equipment is being used, and the qualifications of the personnel performing the modification. The temporary modification should be designed and installed by qualified personnel who have the necessary knowledge, skills, and experience. The design should comply with all applicable codes and standards, including the NEC and OSHA regulations. The installation should be performed in a safe and workmanlike manner. The temporary modification should be thoroughly tested and inspected before it is put into service. The testing and inspection should be performed by qualified personnel who are independent of the design and installation teams. The testing and inspection should verify that the modification is safe and functioning properly. A written record of the temporary modification should be maintained, including a description of the modification, the date it was made, the reason for the modification, the names of the personnel who performed the modification, and the results of the testing and inspection. The written record should be readily available for future reference. All personnel who work on or near the modified equipment should be properly trained on the hazards associated with the modification and the control measures that have been implemented. The training should be provided by qualified personnel who have the necessary knowledge, skills, and experience. The temporary modification should be regularly inspected to ensure that it is still safe and functioning properly. The inspection should be performed by qualified personnel who have the necessary knowledge, skills, and experience. Any problems or concerns should be addressed immediately. The temporary modification should be removed as soon as it is no longer needed. The equipment should be restored to its original configuration. The removal should be performed by qualified personnel who have the necessary knowledge, skills, and experience. The equipment should be thoroughly tested and inspected after the removal to ensure that it is functioning properly. By following these steps, you can help to ensure that temporary modifications to electrical equipment are made safely and that the risk of accidents is minimized. It is important to remember that electrical safety is everyone's responsibility. If you have any questions or concerns about electrical safety, please consult with a qualified electrician. The use of a transformer to step down the 480-volt alternating current supply to 120-volt alternating current is a common practice in many industrial and commercial settings. Transformers are reliable and efficient devices that can safely convert voltage levels. However, it is important to ensure that the transformer is properly sized for the load it is serving. The transformer should be rated to handle the full load current of the equipment. The transformer should also be protected by overcurrent devices such as fuses or circuit breakers. These overcurrent devices will protect the transformer from damage in the event of a fault. The transformer should be installed in a well-ventilated area to prevent overheating. The transformer should also be protected from moisture and other environmental factors. The wiring connections to the transformer should be made in accordance with the NEC. The wiring connections should be tight and secure. The wiring should be properly insulated. The transformer should be inspected regularly to ensure that it is in good working order. Any problems or concerns should be addressed immediately. The use of a plug-in cord to supply power to the equipment is a common practice in many residential and commercial settings. Plug-in cords are convenient and easy to use. However, it is important to ensure that the plug-in cord is properly sized for the load it is serving. The plug-in cord should be rated to handle the full load current of the equipment. The plug-in cord should be protected by overcurrent devices, such as fuses or circuit breakers. These overcurrent devices will protect the plug-in cord from damage in the event of a fault. The plug-in cord should be inspected regularly to ensure that it is in good working order. Any problems or concerns should be addressed immediately. The plug-in cord should be properly grounded. Grounding provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, helping to protect against electrical shock. The plug-in cord should be protected from damage. Avoid running the plug-in cord under carpets or furniture. Avoid pinching or kinking the plug-in cord. Avoid exposing the plug-in cord to moisture or other environmental factors. The plug-in cord should be replaced if it is damaged. The plug-in cord should be disconnected from the power source when not in use. When disconnecting the plug-in cord, grasp the plug, not the cord. Never pull on the cord to disconnect it. The use of temporary wiring is permitted under certain circumstances. However, temporary wiring should only be used for a limited time period. Temporary wiring should be installed in accordance with the NEC. Temporary wiring should be inspected regularly to ensure that it is safe and functioning properly. Temporary wiring should be removed as soon as it is no longer needed. The NEC specifies the requirements for temporary wiring in Article 590. Article 590.4 provides requirements for branch circuits for temporary power. Article 590.4d states that cable assemblers and flexible cords and cables shall be supported in place at intervals that prevent damage. Article 590.5 covers disconnecting means. Article 590.6 describes the overcurrent protection requirements. Article 590.6 says that feeder and branch circuits shall be protected by overcurrent protection devices. Ground fault protection for personnel shall be provided as required in 590.6b. All of these are important for temporary modifications that may be employed. The key is to follow safe work practices and all applicable codes and regulations to minimize the risk of electrical shock or fire.